Hi everybody, what's going on? Welcome to Sit Down. I'm DJ Sixsmith. Hanging out with Rachel Lears today. Knock Down the House is your brand new documentary. First of all, congratulations.
Thank you so much.
It's great to have you in.
Great to be here.
So let's talk about this because I watched it last night. It's absolutely fascinating because you have Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and her incredible rise, but you go all over the country. You go to West Virginia, you go to Ferguson, you go to Nevada. So how did you first get the idea to make the film?
Yeah, so the day after the 2016 election, I wanted to make a story that was national in scope. I was kind of, in the market for new documentary stories at that time, having recently finished a project. And I wanted to find a story about people working together from different parts of the country, from different backgrounds, to really put forward a positive vision for where the country could go and what democracy could be. So I'd heard about these groups, Brand New Congress and Justice Democrats, that were recruiting ordinary people to run for Congress and building kind of a support network so that people who don't usually make it to the halls of power could maybe get there. And reached out to them, and through that process came into contact with the candidates that we ended up choosing for this film, who are all women. There was a wave of women running in the midterms, and we wanted to capture that. And all of these women are from working class backgrounds, and they all refuse corporate donations. But beyond that, they come from different geographic locations, different ethnic backgrounds, and they kind of focus on different issue areas. So we were looking for diversity in a broader story of a collective that would really, represent the country as a whole.
Totally. Yeah, I think a lot of people had a very visceral reaction to the 2016 election, and then, telling a story outside of that, because seeing that groundswell with so many women running, but then also watching your film and understanding just how many things were going against them. So once you started to meet these women, when did it hit you like, this is great that you're running, but you have a number of challenges coming your way?
From the beginning. I mean, we knew that these were long shot races from the beginning, just because of the dynamics of what it looks like challenging an incumbent, or in the cases of all of these particular races, real entrenched political machines.
Yeah, or just getting on the ballot in general.
Exactly.
Yeah.
In some cases, like here in New York, it's actually a huge challenge just getting on the ballot for a new candidate. So we knew that those were going to be big challenges and that they were up against a lot, but we were really interested in exploring the nature of power in this country and what it looks like, why the face of our leadership is so slow to change. So no matter what happened, we knew we were going to be exploring those themes, and it ended up that we had a really historic victory in the mix, but I think the losses also bring a lot of depth to the story.
Absolutely. So 2017, you meet Alexandria. What were your initial impressions of her?
Well, I was very impressed with her messaging and her way of communicating, both sort of in press, kind of public appearances, as well as on a more intimate one-on-one level. And so, she was really good at connecting with voters and really good at expressing complicated political ideas in a very down-to-earth way that regular people could connect to. So that was something that really impressed me about her. And in addition to her ability to, I think, connect with people from different walks of life, because she herself has had a really interesting life story that, growing up kind of between two worlds in the Bronx and Westchester. And so all of that, I thought, made her a really interesting person to watch on screen for the film. And
just a regular working class person. You show her at the bar, behind the bar, lugging the big things of ice. Like, for all those people that don't believe it, like, it's clearly right there for them. So
we didn't set that up.
No,
that
definitely
was really
not.
her job.
So there was that part, and then even the part I thought was really interesting, putting Crowley's pamphlet next to hers. And it's like, she was saying, this is a strategist, and this is a candidate that's running. And there was just like, it was just all fluff. There was nothing of real substance in his. And then for her, it was like, I have to introduce myself to people, but I also have to get to the heart of the issue. So I thought that was really interesting, not only how you capture that, but also how she realized, I need to simplify these things and really make sure that people actually go to vote and people actually know when the election's going to be. There's so much more to it than just seeing a face or seeing somebody's name on the ballot.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, these elections, these grassroots campaigns that we documented in the film are really about engaging and activating an electorate that doesn't always vote and that doesn't usually vote in midterm primaries. So you have to have a real community organizer, a real scrappy kind of DIY sensibility to do that, especially if you're not taking corporate donations and you're going to do it all with the small dollar donations from individuals. So all of these campaigns, you know, first of all, it took a lot of courage on an individual personal level for each candidate to put themselves out there in that way, and then it took a ton of work, you know, motivating volunteers and very small staffs to just knock those doors, make those phone calls. So what the film's really about is, you know, showing what it's about power, you know, what it looks like, how it works, how you build it in yourself, how you can challenge established power through these innovative grassroots techniques.
Definitely, and even thinking about your journey and the candidate's journey, is like, a documentary is a labor of love. You have hundreds of hours of film that you're trying to break down. So I'm sure it was interesting for you. It's like you're facing challenges as you're trying to make this project. All these women are facing challenges. So for your documentary, what were some of the challenges you faced along the way? And when did you realize, okay, we have something here and this is going to be really, really fascinating?
Well, there is an uncanny sort of parallel between making an independent film and running a grassroots campaign. You know, at the beginning, nobody knows what the outcome is going to be, so it's hard to get people to believe in it. You
hard really to get people to donate and support you.
Hard to get people to donate. You have to really believe in what you're doing and really hone your pitch in those early days. So, you know, I collaborated with my husband, Robin Blotnick, who is an editor and producer and co-writer on this film, and we had an 8-month-old baby when we started developing this project, and he was 1 and 2 during most of the production. So we were traveling all around the country together as a family, working on this project, and I did most of the shooting. Robin did the editing. He started the edit, you know, in hotel rooms and Airbnbs during our son's naps, you know, getting a feel for that 280 hours of footage that it ended up being. And, you know, so it really was a small grassroots kind of process. But when we put out the Kickstarter in March of last year, 2018, it was really a viability test for the film. The primary season was coming up, and we weren't going to be able to keep going. Weren't going to be able to go any further into debt. We were like, all right, this is it. And I think that the concept of these 4 women, we'd finally, you know, centered on these 4 and putting the concept of the film out there with them and their personal stories, it really resonated with audiences, and we did raise some funds there. And I think that was really the moment where we realized, you know what, 500 people believe in this film, no matter what the outcome of the election is.
Right.
So at that point, we realized, no matter what happens, we can see this through.
Right. So the other women don't win in West Virginia and Ferguson and Nevada, but for AOC, when did you realize, like, she could actually win this thing? Like, when did that moment hit for you?
Kind of the same moment that it hit her, right when it happened. You know,
up until that point, you really didn't feel it?
You don't know. Yeah. I mean, of course you know it can happen. You know, she had a lot of momentum in the last few weeks of her campaign, and we knew that it was a possibility. I knew the strategy of the race and the fact that she actually only needed about 15,000 votes to win, which is lower than a lot of districts. So I knew it was possible, but after already seeing Paula's and Amy's races, where they had lost those elections in West Virginia and Nevada, respectively, you know, they had a lot of momentum on the ground too.
Yeah,
they
absolutely.
had a lot of really dedicated voters and volunteers out there. So it's hard to tell anecdotally when you're walking down the street and people come up and they honk their horns or they yell the candidate's name. You know, that was happening in every place.
You don't know if it's going to turn into votes.
You don't know what it's going to turn into. Yeah. So that night of the election in New York was really completely transformative. I mean, she didn't want to know what the results were. And so I was with her in the car, you know, riding to the watch party, and you know, she found out in that now iconic viral moment.
That was amazing. That was the first time I had seen that, actually.
Oh,
so
really?
running in, that's me, I'm on the TV. That was incredible.
Well, once she gets inside and she sees the results, that was the part that went
that's the part that went viral.
That went viral, but we have, you know, the full context of that, and we caught that actual moment from 2 angles with myself and another camera person.
So cool.
So it was really fun to I mean, that's an understatement. To go through that process with her of going from like having no idea what's happening because you're not looking at any of the poll results coming in to seeing, within half an hour, the results came in.
And it must blow your mind to think where she's gone to now, even in such a short amount of time. I mean, here you were in 2017 with this young woman working at the bar. Now she is the face of the progressive left. The right is coming after her hard. Like, her life is completely transformed. And like, you were there at the beginning stages. So now a little bit separated from it, what's it like for you to see just Alex blowing up in the spotlight here?
Well, I think it's, it's really incredible. It's kind of like, when you have a friend that becomes famous,
right.
You're like, oh my God, there she is, yay. I'm very proud of her, and I have so much respect for her and everything she's doing, and I know how hard it is. I'm still in touch with her and her team, and so, I see how hard they're working, and they have to do this double duty, not just of learning the ropes in DC and doing that job, but also managing this media presence, which has become such a big thing. So, so I have a ton of respect for that. But I also think that for I can't help thinking when I see the coverage of her that I just can't wait till the film comes out, because it's going to add a lot to that conversation.
Absolutely.
There's a lot of misconceptions and misinformation out there about her and her backstory and where she comes from and what her life was actually like before she got to Congress and all that. And we show it.
Absolutely. Even like her and her boyfriend, just like those are such pure moments. And even for the candidates that didn't win, like in West Virginia, just getting an idea of what was going on there, single mother in Nevada and what she's dealing with. And the Ferguson thing was really fascinating, because you had somebody, a black man in power for so long, and here's a black woman with new ideas, and still it's not enough because there's familiarity with that family. But at the same time, these are candidates that are cutting through. And I think that's kind of been the theme for the last couple of years, is that we've had some historic wins. We've had some people that have really changed the narrative, but people are just reassessing everything, it seems like, at the local level and the national level.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, each of these candidates really changed the conversation in their districts, and they really organized the community, bringing people together who in some cases hadn't necessarily worked together before. I mean, that's something that Alexandria said throughout her campaign was, even if we lose this election, we're still, bringing into conversation these different groups of people in our community that haven't been in touch before.
Totally.
And that has value that is lasting. So I think that one of the messages of the film is, in addition to the fact that a lot of people have to try in order for one to win, is really the value that trying brings in the political arena. It's not just about winning an election. It's also about organizing your community, about changing that conversation, and really having a dialogue about what true representation looks like.
Definitely. Now, I don't want to spoil the end, but the last scene is beautiful, and I'm sure you had a lot of different ways to end it, but I think when people see that, they'll really get the emotion of the story. So not only just the emotion, but what else do you want people to think once they do check out the documentary?
Well, I mean, I want people to really be on the lookout for different layers of meaning. So there's a real human story. Obviously, it's a story of empowerment. It's, all four of the candidates are facing not just long odds in their races, but really, a process of turning loss and adversity in their own lives into strength. And so there's that human story that's really universal. But there's also other layers for people who might be a little more interested in how the political system works.
Absolutely,
or, how different ways that you can get involved in the democratic process, or different ways that that money influences our election system. So I really want people to look for the ways that representation and money in politics are connected, because these campaigns are all examples of people who aren't supposed to run for office. When it takes millions of dollars to run a campaign, typically you're not going to have working class women who don't have access to that kind of money running viable campaigns. It's going to be a much higher bar for them to be taken seriously when fundraising is the main yardstick of what's considered a viable campaign. So the only way to challenge that is with a movement and with really building people power on the ground. And what we're documenting in the film is this really historic moment when that model of campaigning hit the country at the congressional level in a way that's never been seen before.
Yeah, it was really fascinating, from the people that help get those people to the main stage, how you actually get the number of signatures, and then how you can win it too.
Every step of the way.
So Rachel, it's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you so much.
Why don't you tell everybody when they can check it out and where they can check it out?
Well, the film's going to be on Netflix and in select theaters across the country on May 1st. And you can go to knockdownthehouse.com to find out where it's playing, get the link to Netflix, and to sign up to host a community screening on your own.
Yeah, I highly recommend it. It was great. All right, everybody, thanks so much for tuning in. See you next time here on The Sit Down.